The much anticipated, long awaited Ryan McLeod deal is done, Jason Strudwick. What say you in your 4 words, my friend?
Internal growth for McLeod.
Internal growth for McLeod. How about this? Hit like it's playoffs. Summer edition, bonus edition, got your backs on the way. Roll the music, Zuby. Oh, yes, we are back. Summertime edition of Got Your Back. And man, am I excited to be here. I don't know, I got like a little chill when the music rolled there, Struddy. It's been a little while, man. I'm fired up and excited to be doing a midsummer podcast. How are you feeling?
I feel the same way. You know, it's a break is good for everyone. Everyone loves a little vacation or break.
You needed a break from me. Admit it. You needed a break from me. I was a little much at the end of the season.
A little intense, but it's it's good to kind of just to decompress, and then the cloud signs, and you're like, okay, well, how does that all fit in? Like, what does this make it happen? Because nothing, to be fair, it hasn't been the most exciting off season for the Oilers, but I think we all expected that.
We knew that was going to be the way it was, though. We knew it wasn't going to be that exciting, but a signing has happened. Let's beat it to death. Let's beat it to death with a midsummer podcast. We'll check in with Zuby in just a minute, but got you back. Brought to you by our good friends at Sherwood Buick GMC, our new title sponsor for season 3 of the podcast. We're thrilled to have them on board as title sponsors. The #1 GMC dealership in all of Canada for 5 years running. Oh, the all-new redesigned Sierra 1500. I'm lucky enough to drive around in one. It is spectacular. They got a wide variety of trims available. The Denali Ultimate is next level. But Sherwood Buick GMC has inventory, new, used, everything you need. Go see Phil and the great crew over at Sherwood Buick GMC as we check in with Zuby as well. Now, Struds, you don't know this. Zuby and I had a little Got Your Back conference in Revelstoke a couple of weeks ago. We both happened to be there at the same time and decided a secret meeting was necessary, Zuby, without Struds. Some big decisions were made.
Yeah, pretty much overhauled the show. We're all still a part of it. That was the key thing. We said, yes, we have the right talent. Let's stick with the talent. But other than that, it's a complete overhaul.
You're rehired for the year, Strud. Zuby greenlit you coming back for season 3.
He's the wizard behind the curtain. That's the guy that comes in and makes all the big choices.
He is
pulling the levers. Yep.
He is. Spent some time in Revy there, rode the mountain coaster. Have you ridden the mountain coaster, Struddy, at Revelstoke Mountain Lodge there?
I haven't. It sounds quite a name.
Yeah, no, it's like this monorail coaster that goes down the mountain, and you have this lever you can control how fast you go. It's actually quite a bit of... Doobie, did you end up doing it while you were out there?
I didn't do it while I was out there, but I did do it I have done it one other time, but I think I did it with my daughter. And so she was even, she was quite small. So, and I'm not built for speed, nor am I a speed guy. So we went, I was on that lever. My daughter didn't want to go fast. So I was slow. I had people lining up behind me. I tried to warn them at the top. Don't send anybody right away if they want to go fast.
Yeah. Well, Struddy, he was taking some video for another project he's working on. So we asked if he could shoot Randine and I going down the this mountain coaster. We're like, yeah, sure, no problem. He's like, okay, I'll call you when I'm ready. So he had to hump all his camera gear up this hill to get into the prime shooting location. So he's like, okay, I'm ready. I rode down the coaster. It was like maybe a 3-minute ride, got off the coaster. By the time he came back down the hill, he still had not caught his breath from walking up the hill to get to the shoot location. Zuby, you were like, I was worried about you, man.
Well, I think when I called you from climbing up the first time, I thought I had enough time for you to get down there. It's the altitude, I think, on top of the climb. It's also a wake-up call. I'm not in winter shape yet.
The overall conditioning level on Got Your Back needs to come up. Hey, Struddy, like our average is not where it needs to be.
Yeah. There's always a room for improvement, right? Even the most elite athlete can find a way to get on elliptical and try to, get a little bit stronger, a little bit faster.
Does golfing improve? How many rounds have you golfed? I've had a great golf year so far. I'm not going to be sheepish about it. I've been playing a lot and loving it.
Yeah, it does feel like there's been a lot of golfing, and I was away a little bit the last couple of weeks, but now I think I got a few days lined up here to get out there and swing the wrenches around.
Yeah.
So I got to recover from that loss to you. I still can't believe it.
I'm glad you brought it up. I was about to because you got chirpy on the last pod, telling me that I was bullshitting my handicap,
right?
Making it sound like I was better than I was. You called me out in a big way, bud. A big way.
I can't believe I lost, and I still would question some of the accounting tactics that were used on that that group.
Dude,
everyone on your team, I was hitting it 50 yards past you guys every shot. I didn't know. I thought you guys were playing like from like the tips. You guys are so far behind me.
Well, then your short game is absolute trash, my friend. Because I didn't just beat you. I think I beat you by what, 4 or 5 strokes. I think it was.
Well, it won't happen again. That I've been chipping. I'm chipping every day. I chipped last night till my hands bled. My eyes bleeding.
All right, we'll get the rematch on the schedule. Zuby, we'll check in with you in a little bit, but we got to give the people what they want, which is their in-depth Ryan McLeod signing analysis. Let's get to the breakdown, Struddy. Brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. High-quality, maintenance-free vinyl decking and fencing. I've had a great summer. Multiple gatherings out on the vinyl deck out back. The DLR put in for me. It's awesome, maintenance-free. No sanding, no staining, no painting. If you need to make a change in your backyard and you're looking at your wood, thinking about everything you've got to do, give some serious thought to maintenance-free. And DLR Vinyl Products can help you with that. They got locations in Calgary and in Edmonton. So news last night, 2-year deal, $2.1 million, Struddy. What were your 4 words off the top of the show again?
Internal improvement from McLeod.
Internal improvement from McLeod. So first of all, what do you think of the dollar figure and the length on this thing? They do this deal, they avoid arbitration. And if you want to just quickly on the timing, they would have had to file their arbitration briefs this morning. And then that would have meant, there's a good chance they're heading there, barring a last minute deal. So rather than go through all the process of filing the briefs, they managed to get it done late last night. What do you think about it, pal?
Well, number one, I think it's important that they didn't go to arbitration. I never went myself, but I'm familiar with the process and what it's like. And basically, it's the team telling an independent counsel why you're brutal and why you shouldn't get that money.
Is it that bad?
I think it's a really dangerous thing for it. I've heard it's really rough.
Like you've heard some stories,
and so I'm looking at just guys, just talking about what it's like. So you look at like the situation in Anaheim, not to get it too far off base, but Troy Terry wants $8 million, and the Ducks want to pay him $4.5 million. So both sides are going to go in there and argue why their number's correct. So they're not, they're not being, soft. They're going to come in there with hard numbers, hard facts, hard anecdotes about why they believe their player or they themselves are worth that. So I think it's important for Ryan McLeod to not have gone through this. I'm glad they settled it. And listen, it's not like they were $4 million off like we're talking about in Anaheim. They weren't that far off. I didn't think right from the get-go. We're talking about a couple $100,000 one way or another. I know it makes a difference. But I think this is a number that works obviously for McLeod. For the Oilers, it would have been nice to get it underneath 2 because every single dime counts, but they found a way to get it done and avoided that what can be a very negative process for Ryan McLeod.
So, I believe the Oilers wanted it in the 1.6, 1.7 range. And McLeod, who's rep by Joe Resnick, I think they were more like 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, somewhere in that range. So you look at 2.1, it ends up being that middle ground. I don't think the Oilers are thrilled, and I would expect McLeod's camp isn't thrilled either. Both sides probably feeling like, There was a deal done yesterday. Trent Frederick got his deal done, 2 years. They ended up settling $2.3 million. Had 17 goals and 31 points last season. I believe when that deal got done, it probably set the market a little bit for the way that this was going to go. And so if you look at McLeod's numbers, he had 11 goals, but in 57 games. So that's roughly a 16-goal pace that McLeod put up. So Frederick comes in at $2.3 million, McLeod a little bit below that at $2.1 million, Struds. And I mean, he's a third-line center, I would say. Hey, he's proven himself like he's ready to be a full-time third-line center in the National Hockey League.
Oh, he is. But there's, just to play off my first 4 words there, I think that he's got to grow. Connor McDavid was at Zach Hyman's golf tournament the other day, and they asked him about their summer. They said, we're all trying to get better, right? That is internal growth. Everyone's trying to get better, and that's reality. So what you did last year as a player, that's not good enough anymore. And I'm not talking about producing more numbers. It's in game, right? So we're talking about in game. How do you play away from the puck? What are you able to do on the penalty kill? Like, those are the areas I'm looking at Ryan McLeod. But would it be great if you got 20? Yeah. I don't believe that the Oilers' major issue was goal scoring. But it's nice. It's nice to score goals. I get it, but it's their play away from the puck as a group. So I think it's ironically, Ryan McLeod, I think your point's well made about he has to be more physical. I get that. But what I'd like to see when he has the puck is I want to see him use his speed. I want him to get up at that ice hard, attack D-men, push them back. When you attack with a lot of speed, when you have the puck, it pushes the D-men back, or you skate around them. Either way, it makes them make a decision. When you go at half speed, or you kind of you don't use the full ability that you have with that speed, you're not making the D-men force them to make choices they don't want to make. So, I'm talking about one time without the puck, but also one time with the puck. So I think Ryan can add to his game more and more.
I'm going to disagree a little bit with you on the priority, and maybe I'm not disagreeing. I think McLeod plays a fast game, and I think McLeod, has speed, and I think he tries to use it. I think the key for Ryan McLeod is the willingness to go to the difficult areas more often, all the time. He tries to play the game fast, but I think he needs to get to the tough areas, and he needs to be willing to every single shift. My 4 words were hit like it's playoffs. Throw a stat at you. 40 hits in 57 regular season games last year. That's 0.7 hits per game. You have to be trying to avoid it to have 0.7 hits per game. Really, to only have 0.7 hits per game and play 14 minutes, it's not on your mind at all. I'm not trying to rip on Ryan McLeod. This has been a consistent narrative for me since the moment he pulled on an Oilers jersey and started playing games. I said, that player needs to get more engaged physically. He doesn't need to be running around train wrecking people. I'm not trying to turn an apple into an orange here, but he needs to play the game with finishing checks in mind, because I believe that is going to put him in the headspace to go to the areas that he needs to go to score more goals. In the playoffs, 26 hits in 12 games played. Completely changed the way that he processed what his job was out there when it comes to contributing physically. And I think Ryan McLeod needs to understand every night it's part of his job to contribute physically. And I think that'll get him more engaged. And I think that'll get him to the tougher areas more often. Struds, you know the difference between being on the perimeter and not really having a night where you're in there, and then having a night where you're in there and you're getting a rough ride and you're pushing back and you're grinding and it gets a little ugly for you. I think he needs to spend more time in that uncomfortable frame of mind.
Yeah, and I can get behind the hitting, but what I guess I should elaborate a little more. When I'm talking about driving the puck wide, is to drive the puck wide and take it right to the net.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that's off the
Some
rush,
reckless abandon, right?
Or you beating the guy off the corner, because when you drive the puck to the net, you may or may not get a shot, but there's a trail of kind of disaster behind you, right? Like everyone's trying to figure out where's the puck, where are we going? And oftentimes the puck's laying there and you can get a good chance off of that. Whether you don't, even if you don't score off that rush. So I want to see him use his speed to take the puck to the net. And I'll give you an example of a guy who started to do that. I thought more consistently last year was Warren Fogle. Now, Warren Fogle didn't score as many goals as maybe fans want him to, but when you consistently, as we saw more often than not from Fogle, drive that puck to the net, whether it's coming out of the corner or off the rush, it wears on the D-men. And I guess I'm almost skipping ahead of next year's regular season, looking at the playoffs. But you've got to put the pressure, and I think that's a dangerous thing for us, but also for the team. But you got to just make those D-men turn, make them, force, as I said earlier, make them make decisions. Okay, am I going to step up on this guy? Am I going to let him drive wide? Oh my, he just got around me. Who am I now picking up if my buddy's getting turnstile? So those are all decisions I want. He can do that, right? Not every player in the Oilers has the speed to do that. Even look at, I don't think Nugent Hopkins has the speed to do that. Obviously Connor does. I think Leon does. I don't know that Zach Hyman does. Like, there's certain players on the team that have that elite level speed that can drive it wide. And I want to see that more, both out of the
Mm-hmm.
corners and off the rush, both from he and Fogle, I think, because if they're on a line together, man, that's pretty tough. And he put Dylan Holloway on that line. That's three guys that are big bodies. They can skate. They can really create an identity for the line, being like, oh God, I have to play against these guys again. And that's what they want. And I don't think that Ryan has that all the time when he's playing against a team.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really like the player. Like, I think the skill set, he's got a nice set of hands. He's got great wheels. I think there's more offense in his game than even what he's brought so far. I think there's another level for him to get to. I think it's about being engaged competitively every single night. So the stats line was 11-12 for 23 points in 57 games, played 14 minutes and 11 seconds, 54% Corsi. So his possession numbers are good, right? And that's been the case with him for a number of years now. And I know the analytics community definitely likes him, for a lot of those reasons. He was on a 33-point pace with 16 goals. In the playoffs, he had 5 assists in the 12 games played. Last year, he was 3-1 in 16 games played. And he's got a nice little body of experience now. He's been on 2 runs that are multiple rounds and is maturing nicely as a player. I'm okay with the contract. I think, under $2 million, the Oilers would have loved that. But remember, Ryan McLeod took a deal that was, I believe, under his qualifying offer last year. He took one for the team last year. So the fact that he got his $2 million this year, quite frankly, I'm fine with that. I think there needs to be give and take sometimes. And frankly, I'm not sure they're thrilled with this deal where it's at right now. McLeod's camp, I mean, even.
Yeah. Well, if both people are pissed off, maybe that's a good thing, or
exactly.
Not pissed off, but like disappointed. Listen, let's be honest. I mean, the cap issues are there. Obviously, COVID just destroyed any kind of cap increases the Oilers would have expected. I think we might have been in a different place here. Well, not just Oilers, but every team. I mean, there's just very little flexibility unless you've just completely tanked out. But one area I would like to highlight that I think McLeod can work on and should be working on this offseason is his face-off percentage. Now he's about 48%, just under, and that's not 40%, but to be able to take some pressure off of whether it's Connor or Leon, if he can creep that up, that would really help a lot. Like being over 50%. It would also give him more trust from the coaching staff, maybe towards the end of the game to take face-offs and penalty kill situations. So you're adding it for the team, obviously, because it's good for the team, but it's also good for you because the coach trusts you. He says there's a better chance than not that this guy understands the moment and having to win this face-off. And that is a progression in young players' development that's required. And I think it's an area that he can work on in the offseason, especially when you look around who are you skating and who he's skating with this summer.
Small details, man. I completely agree. And this is so important because, people will debate face-off percentage and how important it is through the course of a regular season. And I mean, there'll be both sides of the argument, but I'm telling you, you get into an elimination game and you're in the last period and a half and there's a defensive zone face-off and you want to be a guy that can play against the other team's better players. You want to be a guy that the head coach is comfortable sending over the boards in those situations. You can't be a 45, 46, 47% face-off guy. You just cannot. And that's something that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has struggled with his entire career to get that up, to be more reliable in that situation. And Ryan McLeod cannot have the same story written about him. He's got to figure this out in a way that Nugent-Hopkins never was able to, because he's not going to be a top 6 center on this team. He's going to be a third-line center. And he's going to have a really good career combination of producing offense, skating fast, but also learning that two-way game, and face-offs are just too important not to figure that out. I think that's a fantastic point. Do we agree that Fogle and Holloway are the most likely line mates on that third line?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think they are. I mean, who are the other contenders? I guess we've got Derek Ryan in there. We've got Janmark would be in there.
I mean, Lavoie will be around, but I don't think that it's him.
Yeah, I can see him having. Yeah, he might play similar kind of how it went for Holloway last year.
Yeah,
I'm bullish on Holloway. We've seen it historically. His first year in any league is he's kind of figuring it out. Then the second year he kind of pops, or I don't know whether that's a bit maybe overstated, but he does. He kind of figures it out. Yeah. But that line, those 3 guys, if that line does, if all 3 are able to come healthy and ready to go in training camp, and deliver the way they can, that could be a really hard line to play against. Fast, big, and all can, like, what is it fair to say they can all score 20 goals? Like, I don't think that's fair. Let's call it 15 to 20. Well, Fogel's done it.
Yeah. I would say yes. 15, I would say yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
Warren
saying
Fogle scoring 20 on a line with those guys, I'm not so sure of.
Yeah, maybe not next year, but I think they all have the capability to score, you're right, 15 to 20 goals. And if they do that, it's really good. But I think also, let's talk about what the goal of that line is. I think the goal of that line, and I know people are going to hate this, but an energy type line. An energy type line. An energy type line where it goes out and you set the table for other lines. Doesn't mean you don't score. But when you look at that combination of size, speed, and skill, they should be able to produce that and be that for this Oilers team, right? And really be that dependable line that comes out. You know what you're getting every game. And consistency will be an issue. It was still with some relatively young players there in Holloway and McLeod. Fogel's, pretty far down. I think you call him a vet now. But that would be my message to those three guys on the coach. Like, we need you every single night. They could all probably be, available to kill penalties if Jade chooses to. But this is a really important. When I talk about internal growth, this line has to get it done.
Wonder too about Dylan Holloway breaking in, and he's still going to make some young mistakes. And, the hope is the head coach will play him through those mistakes, stick with him, give him third line ice for the year like they should have done last year. And I wonder about Ryan McLeod and Warren Fogle being his insulation on that third line. You'd way rather that it be Nugent Hopkins and Zach Hyman, or you'd way rather there be significant veteran presence there for Dylan Holloway. But the way the lineup sets up, at least initially, maybe that won't be the case. Now, could McLeod moonlight in the top six on the wing and Nugent Hopkins be the third line center and they shift the dynamic and spread it around a little bit? I think there's a good chance we'll see some of that this upcoming season. But interesting to see Holloway in a third line role with those two, if he can make that spot stick, if he can earn enough trust with his coaching staff. And part of that is going to be McLeod understanding he's got a young player on his wing too. And veterans, I think, need to help insulate a guy. So some of that is going to be on McLeod here in helping out with Dylan Holloway's development.
It is. I mean, he's still a pretty young player, so it's hard to really ask.
You know what I mean, though? Just understanding you've got a rookie out there with you that, you
but
can't.
Let's be fair.
Yeah.
He's a winger. It's the easiest position to play on the ice. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully, but I mean, I went from a D-man.
So what happened to his ice time last year? If it's so easy, what happened to the ice time last year?
So what happened is he was making, go back to the first play of the year. He's throwing it. That was a college pass, right? A sauce pass through the middle, a soft one that guys can knock down in their sleep, right? So that doesn't work. But so my point is, Dylan has to understand what he is best at and how he can be the most effective player. He is playing his best when he's going north-south with speed and being physical. Doesn't mean he can't make skilled plays, but that is his game. And that is why I'm doubling down on my comment. Jay Woodcroft has to almost give one of the assistant coaches the job of talking to this line. If this line does go out, say, this is what it is. Let's look at your shifts. Where could you have placed the puck so your buddy can skate into it? What could you have done in the offensive zone? How can you guys cycle and use each other and use the D-men? So there's 5-man units moving in the offensive zone and everyone's supporting each other. Like, it's being a center. Well, being D is the hardest position by far in the league. And then I think centers, we have to probably far down the list.
The goalie union is online.
I'm not going to. I know.
I'll tell you what, I'd much beating down your office door.
I'd rather have a good D and an average goalie than a great goalie and a poor D. That's how and so I think that tells you a lot about what's in priority. But anyways, I don't want to get into a fight with a chubby goalie. So the important thing is to understand, for everyone to understand how you have to play on that line and what you have to do to be successful. And it maybe I'm being disrespectful a little bit to wingers, but you get the puck out in your own zone. That's huge. That's a skill, and that should be worked on daily. The idea of moving the puck forward. How do I find that little center in the middle to slide it over to him, or get it out of the zone so my center or my other winger both have speed and go get it? Like, the game has to be broken down so that he's very clear about how to do it. And I think that brings confidence. You're not dumbing the game down or asking him not to use skill. You're asking him to use what works in the NHL. And you look at Vegas, their recipe Was it like Jack Eichel's really skilled? How many Instagram worthy plays did we see from Jack Eichel in the playoffs?
You're right.
How many from that whole team? How many Instagram worthy plays did we see from a Stanley Cup champion Las Vegas Golden Knights, or just Vegas Golden Knights as people call it? Not many. So it's about doing the right thing, shift in, shift out. And there's many people, you're making the game, it's not fun. Oh, well, I think winning's fun. I think winning's fun. I think fun winning's a fun thing to do. And so I think that's the lesson the Oilers learned. Like, Vegas didn't play a sexy game. They did.
And bringing it back to that line, that style of play needs to be drilled into them, and to understand that there's a way to execute that's going to make you most effective. My concern about that line here on August the 2nd, as we pick apart issues of a line that doesn't officially exist yet.
Yeah.
I think that line has a chance to be mistake prone. I think that those players all have a bit of a tendency to make some mistakes. And I wonder, it'll be interesting to see if they can stick together as an obvious line and avoid the mistakes and earn trust, or if they got to go out, we got to split these guys up. It's not reliable enough, because that to me will be the interesting story of this potential third line. Want to get to the Evan Bouchard situation and the contract negotiation. That's going to be in our takeaways segment. And takeaways is going to be brought to you by the Russell Peters Act Your Age World Tour. Yes. One of the Rolling Stones 50 best comics of all time, Struddy, is coming to Alberta, and it's his only stop. Oh. Stand-up comedy, buddy. Have you done like date night stand-up comedy? Stand-up comedy is so underrated for like grab some buddies or grab your girlfriend or your wife date night. Like Randy and I did some stand-up comedy this summer. We caught Bill Burr when he was in town. We've gone to some of the local establishments. It is underrated to get out and check out some stand-up comedy. You and Shona ever do it?
Yeah, we've been before, and I went with Kathleen McGee one time, and she saw me in the front row, and I cringed. So I haven't been back much lately, and it's not that I loved it, but I just you know what it is, and people always say you're too not sensitive. It's not sensitive, but I honestly feel that when I walk into a room like that, I'm a massive target, because I like to chirp. I like to get going. So I think
because of your giant head and your hairline, you feel like that's what makes you a massive target.
No, but people say I'm what's the right word? Like, where I'm not melodramatic, but like, I think there's like a conspiracy to get me, right? And because I've been gotten so many times, like
and that's because you're always trying to get other people. You're
I know
the guy that's always trying to get other people. So you feel like there are crosshairs on all of us.
That is fair. But like, I go to a roast, like at Joaquin's Gage roast, I just sat down there minding my own business. Everyone gave me a shot. I wasn't even involved in it. Oh, sure, I gave him a couple shots to start, but I just feel it at the target. So I think you should go sit. I
think you should go sit front and center at Russell Peters, September 17th.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. So as I said, it's the Russell Peters Act Your Age World Tour, Sunday, September 17th at the PV Mart Centrium in Red Deer. Again, this is the only stop that he's making in Alberta. This is a world-class comedian. Definitely worth the trip out there to check it out. It's presented by Red Deer Live in Westerner Park. So we got a special offer for people, because tickets are on sale right now at www.ticketsalberta.com. If you purchase a ticket between now and midnight on August 7th, using the promo code GYB2023, that's GYB2023, you'll have a chance to win a $50 food and beverage voucher and a Russell Peters merchandise pack. So go on to www.ticketsalberta.com, enter the promo code GYB2023, and grab yourself some tickets for a fantastic show. Like I said, one of Rolling Stone's 50 best comics of all time. He's awesome. He's Canadian too, right? He's got a great act. He's from Toronto. Highly recommend it. So go check it out. Struds, Evan Bouchard. What does this mean for Evan Bouchard, right? Cap gymnastics. I mean, putting McLeod up over the $2 million mark is going to make it tough to carry a full roster once they get Evan Bouchard's deal done, depending on where it comes in. But they're tight for cap space. Click over to our good friends at Puckpedia, and there's not a lot of space left, right? It's kind of sub 4 million is what you see. We know they can move some guys around a little bit. But this Bouchard contract, it's going to come right down to the wire here with cap space.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be interesting. Bowen Byram's a guy that I kind of compare him. He's at 3.85, and roughly the Oilers have just under $3.6 million left. So you're 250. Let's just assume that he'll sign that contract. Bouchard, that is, you're about 250 grand short of the deal. Now it's not miles, but it is tight now. Let's say he wants 4 million. Well, now it's 400 grand. So they are up against it. And man, if the cap could have gone up another 500 grand, the Oilers might have been free and clear. So what do? Do they start short a player again on the roster? That may be the road they have to take. But it's going to be tight. It's going to be really tight. But I think that after seeing, I really think Makar is a fair, or not Makar. No, it's not the one. Bowen Byram, I think that's a pretty fair comparison. And the guy in Miller in New York, I think those, and I want to say Miller, I have to check what he got, but they're around that. So I don't think this is a massively difficult, because it's going to be a bridge deal. I don't know how else. There's really no other options.
No, there isn't. There's no way to, there's absolutely no way to. He was 3.872.
Yeah.
Keandre Miller was. There's no way to get a long-term deal done. It's just not happening.
So I think those are two good comparables. So I don't know how they can get much higher than that. So you're around that. So you're a little bit short, a little bit shy of what's required.
Yeah, Bouchard led the playoffs in scoring by defensemen, hey, in points. And
well, we've been down this road before. So yeah.
First half of the year was
he's running a pretty good
First half of the year, it was like some were talking about maybe needing to move the player because it was that bad. That was when he was largely playing with younger, less experienced players. All of a sudden, Matthias Ekholm rolls into town, insulates him. Now, let me put this to you. Was it Matthias Ekholm next to him that allowed his game to played a bigger role, allowing his game to get to that spot? Or was it the Oilers trading Tyson Barrie, looking squarely at Evan Bouchard and saying, we believe in you. We believe this is now your power play. We're going to give you more minutes. We believe you're better than you've shown. Our organization's going to bank on you, Evan. We believe in you. Which one of those two things do you think played a bigger role in him doing what he did?
I think Ekholm stabilized them. I really do. I think that's huge. I just think it's so massive. The challenge that I think Bouchard's going to have in this deal, as well as the Oilers, is figuring out what would his point total look like if he was playing for a different team and running their power play. If he was running the Arizona Coyotes power play, or running the Calgary Flames, like what other teams had kind of inept? Didn't LA a bit of an inept power play? Maybe I think that. But
does he have to figure that out? Like, why does he have to figure that out?
Well, because
his points are his points.
Right, but you're trying to press it up, right? You're trying to press it up. So it's like a running back that's got a really good offensive line. So is he the answer, or is he the offensive line? And I don't want to not give him his due, but were his, I guess, he'd have to look back, but I don't know that his numbers are any more impressive than Tyson Barrie's.
Well, from the trade deadline on, they were.
Right, but because Tyson Barrie went to a different team, right? So what changed?
But I mean, if you compare what Bouchard did in that same spot to what Barrie did, I'm pretty sure Bouchard was significantly ahead of where Barrie was at.
Okay, and that'd be an interesting conversation to have, right?
Yeah.
But you have to look at it. The problem, I don't think, is this bridge deal. The problem is the next deal. That's where things can really get huge. Like, we're talking a massive jump. Now you have him and Nurse that, whatever the number is.
Well, if Bouchard gets 65 to 75 points for the next 2 seasons, which I think we both agree he can do, right?
Well, he's going to be damn close, yeah.
So 65 to 75 points, and if the minutes go up and he plays with Ekholm the whole time, and the Oilers make a Stanley Cup final, and I mean, he's a what? In this market, even he's at those points. I mean, he's a $7.5 million goalie in this market. Maybe, or defenseman, maybe even a little bit more. So I agree with you. It's the next one is going to be the one where it's like, okay, what the heck? What are you doing?
Yeah, there's going to be a problem, and I think that that also ties into Connor, Leon, and Stuart Skinner, right? Because Stuart Skinner's got 2 years. Yeah. So if you put no, does he have 2 more? Yeah, it's got 2 more years, right? After this, so you have Bouchard.
Skinner, you're saying? Skinner, you're asking about? Yeah, I'll just double check, but I think he did a 2-year deal.
A 2-year deal.
Yeah,
so
I'll check.
So Skinner would probably be due a raise if he does what he can, or should, or actually needs to. And then you got to look at Bouchard would be looking at a raise at that time. During that time, you'll have renegotiated Connor and Leon, but these are important pieces to your team. So you can't just say, okay, we're not going to take it. So what does that mean?
3-year deal. Sorry, buddy, 3-year deal.
Okay. So then that gives you a little breathing space. Okay. Yeah. Good. That's everyone. You can put your.
But it does fall into the range where, I mean, like McDavid and Draisaitl's deals, and we'll save that for another summer podcast. Yeah. But the core of this group, the band is going to be together here for a couple more seasons, and we'll see what happens with Draisaitl. At least 1, maybe 2, maybe more. We'll see what happens. Right. But man, you want to talk about a team in its window. They spent almost $4 million of next year's cap space because they felt so strongly about the window they're in right now. Like those Connor Brown bonuses. If Connor Brown doesn't re-sign in Edmonton, he just gone, and they've got that money sitting on their cap next year, they basically spent the cap increase already for a guy that won't be playing for him.
Yeah, that's going to be tricky. Now, to be fair, I guess, what is Connor Brown worth on the open market, right? Is he 5? Is he 6? I guess it depends on.
We'll see what he does.
Yeah, see what he can do. But they've put themselves in a good position. There's no doubt. The goaltending has to, just do what it can do. I think there'll be growth from Bouchard. Having Ekholm there helps them. Where are things at with CC? There's talk about maybe the Sharks and Carolina making a move, and then at some point does Pesce, if he moves too, does that make sense? Like, it's hard to project what's going on, but the Oilers are in a good position. Their top 9 look pretty good, and they're going to be hard workers. Like, Connor Brown's a hard worker. For those Oilers fans who don't know him, he works hard. Hyman works hard, right? You got McDavid, Draisaitl, all these guys that are going to be hard to play against, and that's the key. Is skill is one thing, but you've got to have skill that works hard, and that's how you win Stanley Cups.
Yeah, 100%. Well, one more big contract for the Oilers to get done. Listen, because it's a summer pod, we're going to keep it to a little bit less time here because we've all got tea times and yards to mow and stuff like that. So let's leave it there, Struds. Listen, we'll try and pop back in here periodically through the month of August. We got some big plans for the podcast coming up in September as well. And we'll fill you in on more of those details coming up. But just more than anything, we want people to know we're going to hit it hard this upcoming season. We know people are looking for a place to, get information and analysis on this team, and we're going to fill that void upcoming this season on Got Your Back season number 3. So we're certainly looking forward to that. Zuby, great job behind the scenes today. Thank you, my friend. And Struddy, fairways and greens, buddy. Fairways and greens. You let me know when the rematch is scheduled. I will be there.
Yeah, I need some practice time here. I'm chipping. I honestly chipped probably 200 balls last night from 50 yards in. I'm going to nail that.
Really? Just in your backyard? Where are you doing that?
No, I went out to a course and practiced.
So you just went to practice, or did you play too?
That's it. No, just practice.
Oh, so you're just going out to practice?
That's right. Because I can. It's a low point of my summer. I said it.
That's how serious you are.
I can't believe it. Oh, man, it's like Milan Lucic beating Connor McDavid in one lap race. It's just...
in a face-punching contest, the other way around. Okay, look forward to that. Reminder too, folks, Russell Peters, Act Your Age World Tour, Sunday, September 17th, PV Mart Centrium in Red Deer. And a special offer, go to www.ticketsalberta.com, enter the promo code GYB2023, and you can win a $50 food and beverage voucher and a Russell Peters merch pack. So go check out some fantastic Canadian comedy at the only stop on his Act Your Age World Tour here in Alberta. Thanks for tuning in. Plenty more to come. Keep an eye on our socials. Thanks for your downloads and subscriptions. We'll talk to you again soon here on Got Your Back. Rishaug and Strudwick. Cheers, everyone.